What's up, guys? Kyle back again, talking UFC this time. UFC 258 last night. Main event, Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns for the welterweight strap. Usman won via third round TKO. So let's talk about the fight. How'd it go down? What do I think was the big reason for the way it unfolded? So the fight starts out pretty explosive. I mean, these guys were former training partners, so they knew each other pretty well. There was some talk online. I think Errol Hawani mentioned it as well on his show with Daniel Cormier, that there was definitely some familiarity and some word on the street, if you will, that one guy may have the edge, at least based on training together. I never heard exactly who that was, but starts out pretty explosive. I mean, I haven't seen a ton of Gilbert's fights, but from what I'd seen, at least from highlights, you know, he's really explosive, has a really good overhand, good wrestling, good jiu-jitsu, all really well-rounded. And sure enough, he comes out aggressive, taking center, and throws those looping hooks hard, and he actually connects right on the ear of Usman within, I want to say, the first maybe 2 minutes of the first round. And it rocked the equilibrium of Usman for sure. I mean, he was wobbled, he went down. Gilbert, of course, attacked, and I don't think Usman was. I mean, he was obviously in trouble, and obviously, like I said, he got hit right on the ear, right on the side there, so his equilibrium was definitely thrown off. He recovered pretty well. I would say Gilbert probably maybe edged out the round. For the rest of the round, it was pretty even, but I'd say Gilbert maybe speed-wise early on for sure. I feel like Gilbert had an advantage, at least with the hands. Super quick and explosive, like I said. Really impressive to see, at least early on. But as the round went, that first round went, even though I'd say maybe Gilbert probably edged it, it's a little up in the air, but I would say with that knockdown, Gilbert had to probably got a 10-9 in that first round. But as that round went on, you could see that Usman was starting to find his jab, and jab is such an underrated technique. I mean, you hear about jabs and stuff like that, but they're not typically as exciting as opposed to like a big haymaker, looping hook or something like that, or like a head kick, something like that. But Usman was starting to find that jab towards the end of the first, and then especially as we go into the second, the jab really started to present itself, and that range Usman started to find was really becoming prevalent in the fight. As far as like the takedowns, like I said, both these guys have pretty good wrestling bases, and they're familiar with each other, so it was kind of one of those fights. I think Gilbert was like 0 for 3 on takedowns, and none of them were really particularly close. Kind of one of those fights where you got two guys that have pretty good wrestling. It almost kind of cancels itself out, and it becomes a kickboxing match or a striking bout, which is exactly what we saw tonight. Through the entire fight, basically, was a kickboxing fight. So as the second round went, Gilbert really started being on the end of that jab by Usman, and it knocked him down, I believe, at least once in that round. And Usman definitely turned the tide in that second round for sure. Because once he started finding that jab, it was almost like, okay, he connects the jab, and he'd follow it up with the right hook, and that would start connecting too, because he found that range with that jab. So then came the overhand right. So towards the end of the second round, Gilbert started slowing down a lot too. Like I said, he was super explosive and faster. Like I would say he definitely had a speed advantage at the start of the fight. Gilbert did, but as the fight went, he started to slow down a little bit, which you often kind of see with those fast out of the gate, explosive fighters like that. That human nature, you're going to slow down just a little bit, right? So you kind of came out of the second round, kind of feeling like Usman had definitely honed in and was going to at least probably continue to impose his will unless Gilbert found something else. Because on the feet, like I said, it was basically Usman sticking him with the jab, following up with a 1-2, and then you'd still have Gilbert trying to throw those hooks still, and they were just getting worse and worse as far as hitting their target. It was just becoming really apparent that Usman was now controlling the range because of that jab, and as like I said, as the fight went on, I believe in the first minute of the third round, jab literally planted Burns on his back again, just right down the pipe, just beautiful by Usman, just really impressive stuff. And eventually, then obviously, Usman starts going after him on the ground, and referee Herb Dean gave him a fair chance to fight back. I mean, Gilbert scrambled a little bit, but I mean, with Usman, his bread and butter is the wrestling and the ground and pound and just being a terror, on the ground and just harassing you and staying in your face. I mean, the way he did it to Covington, for example, and Colby's known for his pace, right? So if Usman could do that to Colby and kind of stay in his face and put him away via punches and TKO, I don't know if anybody can withstand it once he starts to really hone in. So eventually, like I said, third round, I think it was in the first 2 minutes, TKO, Kamaru Usman defeats Gilbert Burns and keeps his strap, won what I believe is his 13th straight fight. So that puts him in some pretty elite company. I think I saw with like John Jones and some other guys. Anderson being at the top still with I think like 16 or 17 straight wins. So really impressive, man. I mean, Usman's still kind of a newer commodity. He's not real well known among the casuals. But he's super scary, especially if this striking acumen is coming around like it seems like it is with him. Like I said, he got rocked early on, had that adversity, and like I said, when you watch the highlights of Gilbert Burns, and you can see that if he connects with that looping right, it's hard to recover from. And while maybe it wasn't the most flush shot, it was still a pretty significant shot in that first round that put Kamaru Usman on the mat, and he still recovered from it, got his bearings back, and just turned the tide in the fight, and ended up winning via pretty dominant, TKO. And so, really impressed with Usman. After the fight, I guess he called out Jorge Masvidal, which I think is pretty good, because I think Masvidal stepping up on that short notice, like within the week, to fight Usman on Fight Island last year. I think that was, all power to him. That's great. I mean, that's what Masvidal does, right? He's a backyard fighter at his heart, at his core. He'll never step down from a fight. But I still want to see him, obviously, and I think Masvidal would agree, and Usman clearly agrees. Let's see that fight when Masvidal has a whole training camp, has his cardio, and can really go, right? And because that last fight between Masvidal and Usman, Trevor Whitman, Usman's coach, I think it was Trevor Whitman, said it best in the corner, and Masvidal even admitted as much after the fight, that he's going to come in quick little bursts because that's all he's got. He knows he doesn't have the energy systems conditioning to really go with a pace and put it on you. So he's going to try to come with a couple quick bursts at you and then probably fade away, just because he knows he has to really manage his energy systems. So, and that's exactly how the fight went. Usman just won kind of a lackluster, decision, but credit to Masvidal for stepping up and saving that card, essentially. So I like that Usman called out Masvidal. I think that's a great idea for the next title fight. Again, obviously, since both guys can hopefully have a good 8 to 12 week camp. I don't know if Usman will have any kind of layup or not. So yeah, that's kind of where exciting to see, like, where that welterweight division, if that's the next title fight. That's great. Leon Edwards kind of on the shelf right now. His last fight got postponed again with Hazmat. Still suffering from COVID symptoms apparently, so you wish him the best on that. And hopefully he can get back in there, because he is, excuse me if I'm saying his name wrong, but he is a terror. He is that prospect that you see in divisions that's coming, that everybody can see coming, and it's just unstoppable, to me at least, the way he looks. So Hazmat's gonna be coming. Hopefully, like I said, he gets his health in order, and all things good there. But Leon needs to fight somebody, so obviously he's trying to fight Jorge, which obviously I think Jorge's probably gonna take the Usman fight. So maybe, I don't know, Leon can fight Colby, because we haven't heard much from Colby recently since that last fight. So I'd be okay with Leon versus Colby, because Leon Edwards deserves to be in the mix too. Yeah, super interesting right now with the welterweight division. I'd be interested to hear your guys' thoughts on how you think the fight went. If you think, Usman versus Masvidal is the next, the right fight to make next, and who you think would have the edge in that one. And where does Gilbert Burns go from here? I mean, I still think Gilbert has a lot to offer. He just maybe got a little bit gassed, and he needs to just add a little bit more tools to his stand-up. Like I said, that looping hook's super dangerous early on because it's so fast and explosive. But once he loses some of that oomph and some of that speed, then obviously if he's fighting a guy that has the other tools in his belt, like Usman has, where he could stick you on the end of that jab, keep you at range, he's got to find some answers. You can't just go in there and just throw in looping hooks all the time, right? So excited to see where he goes from there. So yeah, that's my kind of quick little breakdown of that main event last night. I thought it was pretty exciting. I'm excited to see where the division goes. Got a couple real big fights coming up in March. Real big fights. Stipe's fighting Francis March 27th. So that's going to be a real big heavyweight fight. So I'm real excited. And then Israel Adesanya's fighting Jan for that light heavyweight strap, I think March 7th. So super stacked month for UFC, where everything holds together. So I'm really excited to hear what you guys think. Comment below. Please like this video if you like what you heard, and please subscribe. Thanks for watching. Peace, guys.